Welcome back to Cool Spot, and now we're finishing the game. Okay, so this is the part in the game where where most likely because of the rush development, now we have to reuse level themes with new layouts.
Music-wise, or like the actual look of the level?
The look and the music is the same, but the layout of the level is different. However, we do have a new enemy, so there's that. My guess is.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Okay, these developers have already demonstrated plenty of times already that creativity is not a problem that they have, as demonstrated from Jim. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that the tight schedule of the development probably had something to do with them having to, in order to give this game a proper length to justify the price, they had to, unfortunately, they didn't have the time to come up with new access, design new access from the ground up. I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt because these developers have already proven that they're not lazy.
I'm a bit different. Oh, sorry, go on.
They've already proven that they're not the kind of developers who will do this if as long as they have the ability to do it. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt because this is the only game of theirs where this is a problem. But go ahead, Joe.
Debatable, but I'm a bit different here. Like Pedro, I definitely agree that these developers are good. However, I chalk up some of the shortcomings of this game more to varying degrees. Like, okay, partially some of the rest development, but I'm also going to throw in a bout of an early installment weirdness, to the sense where they maybe didn't quite know the tools of the trade as well as they do later. Like, I mean, this was a good enough start, but, I'd say like part of it is, they didn't quite... they weren't quite as creative as they later became, or I guess creative isn't the right term. They weren't quite as, shall we say, skilled, in the sense that, they hadn't refined their skills.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
It's like comparing Sonic 1 to Sonic 2 and 3. Sonic 1 is still a great revolutionary game, but compared to its successors, it pales in comparison.
True.
It's kind of how it is with, Mario, Crash Bandicoot, the whole kit and caboodle. I mean... Not to say much, but it feels like they have creative freedom, but at some point they just didn't know what to do at some points, Maybe that has to do with, them working on a character.
Oh, look, a virgin carriage.
Ha, funny.
For the rest of this playthrough, I will be skipping any not new parts of these new levels with new levels. However, since this is a new level that takes place in a... Why is there a giant tennis ball in here?
I was about to
ask. Toys? Sports?
This level is actually very creative.
Yeah, we're literally on top of a toy train. I'm guessing that so someone at Marvel Studios played this game when they made Ant-Man 1. Okay.
Oh god, I love that scene with Thomas the Tank Engine.
I always have a soft spot for train levels in video games in general. I don't know, there's just something charm to it.
Train levels are kind of like the
train levels are great.
I think train levels are like the anti-desert or sewer levels, whereas desert and sewer levels are more slow-paced and overall, not much is going on. Train levels are where, well, a lot of stuff is going on and you're moving at quite a top-notch speed.
You're not even close to being unique there, too. There's plenty of people love toy levels. I mean,
train
levels. Train levels, as I said.
And Cool Spot
That sounded very painful.
The train set piece from Uncharted 2 is still the series' most iconic set piece. So people just really like train levels in general. Anyway,
the train sequence from Sonic Triple Trouble is the only thing people remember of the game.
Yeah,
I'd say Cool Spot viciously died with that blood-curdling scream.
Yeah, that was horrifying.
He realized he wasn't cool enough anymore.
Going back to the discussion.
Maybe he looked into the future where, it's kind of a shame that Cool Spot is no longer... Well, I don't know, is Cool Spot really still a thing nowadays?
No, he isn't, Jova. He completely fell into obscurity. Remember, this was supposed to be...
Pepsi Man now, was he?
Remember, this was 7-Up trying to cash in on the mascot 90s craze. So
specifically with video games, I mean, okay, some of them.
And I'll give them props for getting two great developers for the two games, because first David Perry and his team, and for the sequel Eurocom. So they did get good people to make good games. It's just,
I guess when it comes to Cool Spot as a mascot, sure, he's honestly, I can't even really say he's cool looking. I mean, sure, he's literally the.
But Jova, he has sunglasses.
That's the thing. Chester Cheeto had sunglasses and more. Like, Chester Cheeto is still alive because Chester Cheeto was a cool cat, no pun intended. He didn't save kids, though.
True.
Chester Cheeto had an attitude, a wit to it, something that made commercials of him literally very enjoyable to watch. Shame he had a terrible game, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
I'm guessing Spot's coolness comes more from the animations and the visual. Like they're trying to do a without dialogue, show don't tell kind of thing. I'm guessing.
Did Spot ever actually have commercials?
He did back in the day, yes.
God, I can't really remember those because, well, Spot had the thing where he doesn't really talk. And I know Visual saying, well, doesn't talk much but looks cool doing it. Yes, that's a thing, but again, he's literally just a Spot with sunglasses. You kind of need to do a bit more to get the cool factor going, just saying.
Yeah, I can see that. Going back to the discussion.
That's it, though. These animations are slick, not gonna lie.
Oh, no. Like, it's Mike Dietz, the guy who went on to make the animation director from Jim and the Aladdin game. This guy is a master at what he does.
I do think that maybe if they had a TV show, they could have definitely worked off of something despite his lack of speaking. Alas.
Well, yeah, considering how good the Earthworm Jim cartoon is, sure.
Not gonna lie, I don't have too much tears to shed because I was never really a big Cool Spot fan. I wasn't even a fan of the drink even. But Cool Spot as a character, I mean, I hate to say it, I got more of a feeling out of the Burger King.
I'm not exactly crazy about the character as well. I mostly just have fun playing the games themselves.
Yeah, the sequel's better though.
It is. I also like the sequel better. If anything, because of Tommy's absolutely phenomenal soundtrack. But
back to the wall. Mm-hmm. Oh my!
I still cannot believe what Tommy managed to accomplish with the Mega Drive sound chip in the sequel to this game, but we'll get to it.
My favorite Tommy Tallarico score is still to this day Fulfill the Descent or whatever Falling it's called.
The official title is Falling on Tommy's albums. But yeah, from Jim 1's soundtrack you mean then. Okay.
Well, when I say soundtrack, I meant in specific the track itself.
Oh, track. Sure. It's soundtrack in general then. What's your favorite one?
Okay. Earthworm Jim.
The first one, I'm guessing? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I like the second one, but the first one has a bit more of an iconic bit to it. It's one of those rare cases where I actually prefer the first game in the series over the sequel. Shamer from Jim doesn't have much more than that. But
sure.
maybe Earthworm Jim's 3D platformer would get him good back on the map and
Yeah. Anyway,
and I'm not talking about the mobile remake, Sherry. There was actually a 3D platformer game for Earthworm Jim.
She knows.
Oh, I know.
She played it. We already discussed this.
Oh God, did your eyes ever recover, Shiroi?
Let's just say
survived into the dragon.
Let's just say Jim's character model didn't exactly transition well from 2D to 3D. But anyway, no, that's the thing, Jova. Jim looks so derpy in Earthworm Jim 3D. Check out any YouTube footage of it. Like he looks so derpy. But anyway,
I mean, don't
get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. Jim was always kind of derpy, but this is not the funny kind of derpy. This is the weird kind of derpy.
If only looking derpy was the worst thing that game had to offer, because those controls. Yes, I'll have a side of terrible with a case of is my controller broken or is it just me, please?
Regardless, the reason I was assuming that because their Terminator game didn't reuse level aesthetics, so maybe they had more time for that.
Yeah, to be fair, reusing level aesthetics was practically the sport of platformers in this day and age.
I guess. What do you think, too?
Platformers that weren't Sonic or Mario. Well, actually, no. Even Mario reused assets.
What do you think, too, about the whole reused aesthetics on this later part of the game?
The only thing that I know that the game has practically no story whatsoever, but it would have made more sense if there was.
It technically has a story, Teo. It's just that it takes itself completely and not seriously at all. So whatever.
But guys, the compelling story of the wild, wicked Willy who never whatsoever.
This story is so deep, guys.
All right, go ahead and finish, Teo.
No, I was just saying that. I would be fine if we were placing us, in order that made sense. But honestly, it seems like you're just jumping around between stuff with no real.
You'll notice that they're going in the opposite order. So I'm assuming maybe you're supposed to interpret that Spot is going back to where he started. So he goes through all. I'm guessing that's what you're supposed to take from this story-wise.
This definitely would have been Well, actually, I don't even know what story there
No,
really is.
no,
but this would have
it doesn't
benefited
really
from
matter.
better
Well,
narrative.
I'm just trying to help with a justification for the story, like Teo asked. That's my only guess, too.
I
think
don't-
Teo summed up
not so much of not too much for the story, but in terms of even just level transition. It would be like it was like in Sonic Mania early state where there was no transition between a couple of zones, and it felt very abrupt and made no sense.
That's why my argument was rushed
Oh, I
development. Because that was
I
also
think-
because the lack of transitions.
I think we beat the game.
Yes, we did. And I got the high
They said
score.
They didn't have enough. They said they didn't have enough room for them, and it's like that's bullshit.
Cool.
And we all
Okay.
By the way, buy 7-Up.
please.
I think Teal pointed out my biggest issue with this game is like, well, always one thing that's always a bad sign with me for a cartoony platform is where it literally just feels like I'm just jumping. I mean, the idea is to, have as
there we go.
much to mask that illusion there. Like, again, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is a classic example of how you can make a compelling story that has no dialogue whatsoever here and there, but has wonderful cutscenes and transitions here and there. Whereas this game... Well, okay, effort or not, it feels like they wanted to make it wacky. Sure, they succeeded in making it wacky, but it feels like they didn't really focus on much else, which is, yeah, I think that's what's different a lot from their later games. It's like, they focused on making stuff wacky, but also having more holding it together. Whereas this just feels like the wackiness with nothing else, where, yeah, it's fun at first, but like junk food eventually wears out its welcome.
How ironic, considering 7-Up, he's kind of
Yeah.
tied to that.
Also, it's kind of funny how they had the product placement blocking the names in the credits. It's like, no, this is more important.
Oopsie. So, yeah, I guess
So, yeah,
I'll
that
give
was-
my final thoughts anyway.
Go ahead and continue then.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine game. It's nothing really amazing, and I'll admit it has a lot of issues that really can make it a bit boring. But I'll say this right now, it is definitely, it's
Solid.
a nice history. Yeah, it's definitely a nice history piece to see where Tommy Tallarico and company started off. And it's definitely nice to see where they went from it. If you're a big collector of 2D platformers, sure, get this. Otherwise, unless you're a big enthusiast of games of this day and age, you're better off going to later Tommy Tallarico games, in my opinion.
Well,
This
shouldn't-
one
more
has
like
the whack.
I think you mean David Perry games. He's the one who actually made the game.
David Perry, sorry. Tommy Tallarico seems to be the one with the most presence.
Well, that's because
granted, I guess that's because he's the one who actually started. Well, he did other stuff that kept him relevant to this.
Well,
game,
yeah.
like
Well,
the video
Tommy's
game market.
Tommy's still out there doing stuff. David pretty much is retired at this point. So
Poor David Perry. His last game was
Matrix, Path of Neo.
What a way to go.
It was so bad it killed the studio. Next, go ahead.
But yeah, overall fine game.
Yeah, right. For me, I still have a soft spot for this one, obviously because I grew up with it. But obviously it's nowhere near as good as something like Earthworm Jim or even the Terminator Sega CD game. Even that one was a bit better because, if anything, it didn't reuse level aesthetics and felt a bit more
It felt
well-rounded.
like a full package.
Yeah, I agree. But this game still has a lot of good stuff to it. The levels themselves are still fun, even when they're reusing assets. They're still solidly designed and they're still fun to play. So it's still perfectly fine for what it's doing. Tommy's music is of course awesome, but wait till the sequel if you think this is awesome. But the visuals are great. It's fantastic spread animation, as this team has already gotten us used to. So yeah, it's a solid game. It's not at all. It's not even close to being their best. Probably their least good of their golden age. But but on its own merits, it's still a perfectly solid 2D platformer. And like I said, I'm still going to give them somewhat of the benefit of the doubt because I get the feeling there was some rush development shenanigans behind the scenes. I really have that feeling that there was some. Now, I'm not saying that excuses everything, but I get the feeling those shenanigans were happening in this game. It kind of reeks of it in the later part of it. All right, that's me. Go ahead, Teo. What do you think?
It's fine, honestly. No harm, no foul. I agree on the rush development for the recycling of some levels, but I wish there were like more selfish level. There was some kind of story, even presented in a more simplistic manner, like with some still pictures between each levels here and there, just to make cool spot a bit more
Cool.
well, that too, but also actually to give a bit more also personality to the game. Like after all, you want to sell the product and you want to show how cool this character is. So maybe that will have helped in that regard. But honestly, it's fine as it is now. It is here. Maybe not as in terms of quality as Earthworm Jim, but it's still solid. Honestly, no real complaining. Next.
Go ahead, Shiro. What do you think?
I see she's stunned
Oh,
into silence
she-
in BRB state.
That's okay. We'll edit this out in post. We'll wait a bit, see if she comes up. Feel free to leave if you need to, Jova.
Wow, I'm recording, so
That's right. Well, if for some reason you need to leave, don't worry.
Sorry.
Don't worry.
Okay, not a fuss.
Don't worry. We'll edit this out in post. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Not much to say really. I mean, aside from the rush development and, the fact that this isn't the kind of thing this team actually wanted to make, I think they made the best of their situation, even though they clearly ran out of time towards the end here. I don't think it was an issue of them not caring as much because the rest of the game kind of contradicts that. But, yeah, again, they did well for what they had. The music is fun.
Well, considering who made it, that's not surprising.
And, well, I guess this is a case of considering who made it as well, because this is the most expressive polka dot I've ever seen. So,
Well, Shiri, if you think the music in this game is good, when people talk about the greatest Tom and Tellerico soundtracks, they usually point to either the Terminator Sega CD soundtrack or the Earthworm Jim 1 soundtrack. I'm different. I pick Spot Goes to Hollywood as his best soundtrack. Wait till we get to the sequel. The music of Spot Goes to Hollywood is a Mega Drive miracle. You'll see.
Alliteration.
You'll see.
Sure.
All right, everybody. So that was cool. Spot. Tune in for the sequel. Spot Goes to Hollywood. It doesn't have a story. It has probably even less of a story than this one. However, it makes up for it by having a lot more creativity in the gameplay. So there's that.
All right.
So see you then.
Yeah.
We'll have a look then. Stay cool.